Hi, everyone, music lovers, one and all. Welcome to CHOPZ All Music. And my name is Kat Orlando, and I'm coming to you from Cape Coral, Florida, broadcasting via Bloomfield Community TV. And now Larry, my husband, and I are having a wonderful season here, performing between Fort Myers, Cape Coral, and Punta Gorda, Florida. And we've seen a lot of Michigan friends come to our show here, and we're meeting people from all over, and it's just been great. So, but while I'm here, I can still bring you some cool music features, interviews, and videos. And on this show, we'll lighten things up a bit and also bring you some informational type things that if you're a musician in the business might be helpful to you. And so right now, we're going to start things out. I'm a big fan of music parodies and satire and musical comedy. So I like finding some really cool music things like that, music video. So in this video coming up, Shirley Serbin, she does her take on the parody of Bohemian Rhapsody and, that very classic song by Queen. But she calls it Menopause Rhapsody. And she imitates the same split screen with all the vocals on the original song video of Queen. And she says she recorded 19 different vocal parts, which she absolutely nails. So this is a subject which just older women can surely relate. So if you're ready for some fun, here goes. Shirley Serbin and Menopause Rhapsody.
Is this my new life? Irritability, shutting down inside. I can't sleep and so is she. Got sweaty thighs. This is my demise, you see. I'm just a woman asking for sympathy because a hot flush comes, memory goes, mood is high, then it's low. Every day more hair grows where I don't want any to be. It's menopause. No more children can be bred. Now my ovaries are dead. Mama, no, it's not much fun. I once was hot in quite a different way. Drama. Don't know if I'll laugh or cry. I can't remember my plans for tomorrow, and my drive has all gone. My brain is feeling scattered. Too late. My prime has gone, bones shrinking in my spine, body's aching all the time. Good night, no I won't sleep, just got to go. Gonna toss and turn and pee the whole night through. Sauna. Stand heat and summertime at all. am a grumpy hot potato, yes I am.
A hot flush, you shush, go and open the window. Thunderbolts and lightning, don't cross me, I'm frightening. See,
Just a mayo. All I say, oh, or you'll pay, oh.
don't delay, oh, don't you know?
I'm gonna blow. I'm just a poor girl with a hot body.
She's just a poor girl, nauseous and clammy. Just give her chocolates and wine, let her be.
Magnesium for the bones, more pills for my hormones.
This hot
flush.
No, we will not let you go.
Let me
This
go.
headache, we will not let you go.
Let me
This
go.
mood swing, we will not let you go.
Let me go.
We'll not let you go.
Let me go.
We'll not let you go.
Let me go. Menopause,
Menopause, just let me go. This hellish cup turns a woman into wild banshees. Banshees, banshees.
So you think you can stop age and turn back time? So you think that your fountain of youth won't run dry? Oh, ladies, take it from me, poor ladies. It's gonna get you. Your time will soon come. Be prepared.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
My nerves are all shattered. Always need to pee. Hairier and fatter. Menopause is battering me. At least no more and flow.
Was that cool or what? So I think it's pretty funny. So she's also out on YouTube. And once again, that was Shirley Serban. You can look her up on YouTube, same thing. She's got a bunch of them out there too. So, so moving right along now for some, I think, some interesting info. If you're a keyboard player, a professional, or just starting out, this next feature could be helpful to you. Keyboardist Cavan Fowler, that's also Cavan Fowler, also known as KV. He explains the process of shopping for the best keyboard for the pro or the beginner. So KV, a little history, has been performing in my band for many years, and you could also see him around the Detroit area with the big horn R&B band Main Street Soul. So he's very knowledgeable on the subject, and he does a great job helping potential keyboard consumers sort it all out before you buy your prized instrument. So here's KV on how to buy a synth.
In the last video, I showed a lot of setting changes on my keyboard to make Car Wash sound really great. But you may have noticed that I ran through a list of settings and terms without taking much time to talk about what they mean or what they do. That was by design to make the song-based videos about performance and these fundamentals videos about, well, the techie knowledge, how to do it part. So here we go with the first real fundamentals video, how to buy a synth. Wait, what? How to buy a synth? How is that a tech question? Yeah, I know, not what you're expecting, but hear me out. Keyboardists tend to buy what's new, what's hot, what everybody else is playing, or more likely, what can I get for X amount of dollars? The first synth that I ever bought was a mistake. The problem wasn't the synth, it was with me as the buyer. I didn't put much thought into what I wanted nor what I was getting. Initially, I had saved up enough to buy a Roland JX3P. My college roommate had one. I played on it a couple times and liked it a lot. So the day came to go to the store cash in hand. But they had just gotten the new Korg Poly 800.
Fight.
It had dual oscillators. The JX3P only had one. It had a realistic, for 1984, breathy flute sound. It could play 8 notes at a time. The JX3P could only play 6. This was the deal breaker for me. It took well past the return policy date for me to truly understand that what I had made was an unwise purchase. First of all, the JX3P had a place to plug in a damper pedal. The Poly did not. The JX had a dynamic analog filter which helped the sounds feel more expressive like a movie. The filter on the Poly sounded, well, very static, like a picture. And let's face it, how often can you use a realistic flute sound? The JX has 61 keys, the Poly 49. Dual oscillators? Guess what? The JX wins here too. I did not understand that when 2 oscillators were in use, it brought the polyphony, or total number of notes you could play at one time, down to 4. This is still true today, but modern synths have up to 4 stereo oscillators, or voices per sound, and at least 128 voices available. This means that if sound A uses 1 mono oscillator per note, you can play 128 notes simultaneously. However, sound B, using 4 stereo oscillators per note, would divide that 128 by 8, yielding a maximum number of 16 notes that can play simultaneously. That's still very good. The Poly's single oscillator sounds were not that pleasant. Yeah, that's how I felt about it too. Quite frankly, at the time, I really had no clue of what I wanted to do with it, and by the time I did, I realized that it was the wrong synth for the job. My fault. But with this background in mind, ask yourself the following questions before you buy your next keyboard. 61, 76, or 88 keys. 61 is the standard. They are generally easy to transport, but come with a light organ-style plastic keyboard. 76 are a rare but available option, usually the same plastic keyboard with a little more range. 88s usually have a weighted keyboard action to better simulate a real piano, but this adds pounds to the entire instrument. Also, ask yourself this question. Can an 88-note keyboard fit into the trunk or back seat of your car? True story. Guitar player in my 4-piece band wanted to go to a music store for strings or something. So we all hopped in his little Toyota and off we went. When we got there, I saw this Yamaha piano with a great sound and an even better price, so I bought it. The important question didn't come up until we walked out the store door. How in the hell are the 4 of us and this 100-pound, almost 5 feet long keyboard in a box going to get home in this little car? By my count, there are at least 5 different classes of keyboards. Workstation, many bells and whistles, but they tend to be expensive. Digital pianos and organs. Very few extra sounds, but better quality for the sounds that they do have. Workstation baby brothers. Watch out for these. They will have similar names as their flagship big brothers, but the cheaper price comes at the cost of less features and sound quality. Analog style synth. For some reason, these rehashes of 1970s tech are popular, but they don't have any acoustic or natural sounds. Controllers. If you have a good sound module or a selection of computer synth plugins, a controller, which does not make any sound itself, can be a great lower cost option. But you will need to know how to navigate patches with that module, or will need a powerful computer and know how not to exceed its limits. How does the hardware feel to you? Knobs, drum pads, ribbon controllers, rotary dials, sliders, and of course the keyboard action. Do they feel sturdy and easy to play, grab, tap, or handle? Have they been placed conveniently and respond naturally? Do you prefer the Yamaha two-wheel modulation and pitch bend approach or the combined Korg and Roland joystick? How's the synth operating system?
Operating system? Like Windows or Mac OS?
No. I mean, what's it like to operate the keyboard? How easy is it to get to common and complex programming features? How useful is the front panel silk screening and display? Can you find what you need without having to open a manual? How many presets and user patches does it have? How easy is it to change sound banks, layers, samples, and sequences? Are the special features useful to you? Things like multiple outputs, extra controller inputs, audio inputs, and digital connections including mouse and/or a QWERTY keyboard. And don't forget about cases, amps, seats, stands, and pedals. Let's put all of this into perspective. Here's what I use and why. I play a Roland Phantom G6 which came out in 2008. After so many years of usage, I became concerned about the amount of wear and tear of moving it from gig to gig, state to state, even country to country. That concern led me to buy a second G6. Nothing else measured up to what I needed. Here's why. It's extremely rare when I need more than 61 keys, and if need be, I can easily program around it. Also, I can put it in the trunk or back seat of my car. The G6 is a full-fledged workstation. I don't need all the bells and whistles, but it's nice to have the options. For example, I never thought when I bought it that I'd ever use the sampler. Wrong. These strings, I sampled them from a Yamaha motif. Shh. The knobs have a rubberish coating on them which makes them easy to grip, and they have a good resistance so that you feel like you are turning something solid. The buttons click when you push them, and some even light up. The rotary dial has a soft click when you turn it so you can feel each increment. And the drum pads? Truth is, I hate them. The backlighting is fine when indoors, but too dim when playing outdoor festivals. They feel like a stiff sponge. And though they are velocity sensitive, they play more like on and off switches. But I do love that they serve multiple functions. It's got a ton of presets, patches, and user storage. With one button push, the pads change to allow numeric entry. This is a high priority for me. Programming songs in a change is nice as I can go from one song to the next with a foot pedal, but sometimes the set list changes on the fly and I don't have time to scroll through menus looking for the right song. I need to be able to directly type in the song number. I showed you why I love my G6 so much that I bought it twice. What I didn't tell you is about the synth I bought before the second G6 and why it's no longer used. I present to you the Roland Phantom FA06 from 2014. Ooh, a new version of the Roland Phantom series? You know, I bought the first Phantom in 2000 and then I bought the G6 in 2008, so this one's got to be great, right? Not so much. Look, I know you were thinking this was some sort of all-pro Roland lovey-dovey fanboy video like I was trying to get a Roland sponsorship, which I will gladly accept. Call me! On the plus side, the front panel layout is similar to the G6. The multi-function keypad is backlit bright enough to be visible outside in daylight. The favorites wrap around from bank to bank. costs a lot less. And that's about it. This is a good example of the workstation baby brother class that I mentioned earlier. The throw of the keys feels artificial, and I've played Yamaha, chords, you name it. But this one feels noticeably weird. The volume sliders are gone and replaced by 4 multi-function knobs. Not as good for adjusting volumes on the fly. The screen is smaller and not designed as well. The pads do not include a dedicated number switch button. Sampling only works on the pads, not across the keyboard. It has a non-standard power connector. This is big because every keyboard that I have owned, with the exception of the battery-powered Korg Poly 800, have all used the same power cord that you use in amps, computer equipment, lots of things. So if and when that power cord shorts out, it's nearly impossible to find an emergency substitute on a gig. Singles and layers are integrated in a confusing way, so you have less storage, I think. It's only 10 pounds. Didn't think that was going to be an issue until the first time I did a glissando and nearly pushed the keyboard off the stand. It does not have a lot of the built-in sound sets that the G6 had, so I had to find alternate, less satisfying ones. Workstation baby brother, remember? In truth, most of this I realized before buying, but I could not find anything else better. Remember, my primary concern was wear and tear on my G6. Finding a second one was a better solution. I hope I have given you food for thought for the next time that you're in the market for a new keyboard. And for any keyboard manufacturers out there watching this video, I've got a few choice words for you. What the bloody hell?
I've been thinking of you and what we've been through. Please just hold me close and just...
All right. Well, thank you, KV, for helping other musicians and find their perfect acts. And, that's musician lingo for instrument, just letting you know, for those who don't know. Okay. Up next, another interesting topic and a very relevant subject these days in the music industry. It is to use AI or to not use AI, specifically for songwriting. So I personally just starting to explore the possibilities on this. And I'm a little bit conflicted on whether or not to use it for songwriting. However, I recently bought a subscription to Suno. That is an AI online app. Now, I strongly believe in real human players being on a recording. So, and the realness is very important because it can't be really duplicated with AI without sounding not human. So, and also another point to it is the fact that once a lot of music like this is released, it starts sounding homogenized and very predictable. And I have a lot of musician friends that are very adamantly against its use. And I understand that. However, I want to explore the options in the area of the pre-production stage where I'm experimenting with a song as in structure and feel. So in that area, I think Suno and AI is very useful as a tool for experimentation. So I think that's pretty valuable. So what I would normally do is when I open up an app like Suno, I put in the lyrics and I put in the style that I wanted to, sound like so-and-so, maybe genre-wise. And it brings back the output, called the output. It will show me an example of that. And I'll say, hey, this is something I can use. But then I'll turn around and put it back out to my producer. And I will bring on real players so that the final song is sounding real. Okay. And so now that brings the question of, after it's all said and done, what is mine song-wise and what is theirs with Suno as far as copyrights now? So now copyright, it says, oh, well, it's going to be all your music. Well, is it really? So I think in this next video, we will have Miss Crystal, who is a music attorney, break this down and explain copyright issues. So I think this could be really valuable for songwriters like myself, where she breaks it down, what is going to be yours copyright wise and what will belong to Suno. So here's Miss Crystal to explain, and she knows her stuff.
The last we spoke about Suno was getting sued by the major record labels alongside UDO, alleging copyright infringement, unauthorized usage, and training its AI. Well, today, what we're talking about is the terms of service. Now, the terms of service that I'm reviewing are last updated June 30th, 2024. These are the live terms of service as of recording this. And what I like to do as an entertainment attorney, I specialize in music, is I like to break down these contracts for you. Terms of service are the contracts that you sign when you get on these platforms to use these services. And so you will remember that when you go to click I agree, there actually is a contract that is linked. And so what I like to do is review these contracts, tell you what you need to know. So we're doing that today in regards to Suno. All right, here we go. So date of last revision, June 30th, 2024. Now, in the beginning of all these contracts, they define parties. They say Suno Incorporated, we're providing our services on this website, suno.com. And so all the rights you're giving us have to do with your use of our service on this website, also our mobile app and all this good stuff. So I'm just going to jump through, okay? And for example, the first place I'll point out is the service description. So they go, the service is designed to process input data. So basically, you can use our platform, and when you use it, you give us code, videos, images, information, text, software, music, audio, pictures, graphics, messages, all kinds of good stuff. This collectively is called a submission. What happens is when there is something spit out, this output is called an output. Now we're going to memorize that this is the defined word for output. So basically, it's anything that is created on the Suno platform from the prompts that you give it, which may just be text. It might be an instrumental for one of the songs that you're working on. This is really important because the framework of how I'm looking through this is, as a user, if you are one of my clients, I want you to know what rights are you giving to Suno, and then what rights do you have in what is created. It is very important that you only upload stuff that you own. And then they give a big long list. They're like, make sure you have all the rights, the licenses, permissions, and they really, in no confusing kind of way, say it in so many ways throughout this agreement, which is we totally disclaim any liability of any problems that you cause because you take something that's not yours and you upload it onto our service. Some other quick things, you have to be at least 13 to use the service. You cannot create multiple free accounts to try to use their free tier. And if you do that, they might ban you forever. It could be just terrible. All right, so your conduct. You assume all the risks. Suno is not responsible for and disclaims any liability in connection with the content, right? So stuff that is generated. Suno reserves the right to investigate and take appropriate legal action against anyone who does bad things on its platform. It will also suspend, it can terminate your account. And then, PS, as with most of these service providers, in most of the terms of service, we do see that they say they have the right at any time to terminate your account. Sometimes we care greatly about that because your account will have valuable things in it. Sometimes you have like purchase credits for certain platforms. And so we pay attention to stuff like that. No difference here. They reserve the right to ban you and terminate your account whenever they so choose. They talk about free trials, the fees, payment processing. All right, so for first time we see a mention about commercial use because we care. How can you use the stuff that you create on Suno? Subject to the content section below, unless otherwise expressly authorized herein or in the service, you agree not to display, distribute, license, perform, publish, reproduce, duplicate, copy, derivative works from, modify, sell. Okay, so basically you agree not to do any of the above things in regards to the service itself. That's okay. No one owns the Suno service. That's what it's saying. But then it goes on and it says, and any output. So for me, I just total breaks on that. Because remember, we were just back here. I was like, hey team, remember, they define output as anything that you create on the platform. So I go, either Suno is saying that everything that you make cannot be used in any commercial way. So meaning you can't put it on any music platforms, which would be no good, right? That would defeat the whole point for a lot of users of Suno. So that is what it says. But I'm like, maybe that's a typo because that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. If you are someone that is needing help in the music business, at the end of this video, you can check out topmusicattorney.com. I have courses, I have free stuff just to kind of get you started. If you do want to deep dive, if you do want to train with me, I always say go through my music business program, which is how to think like a record label, become a record label. And then if you do want to get into touch with me or one of my lawyers, we got you covered. Okay, so here we go on the content. By using the service or otherwise transmitting submissions, so inputting data into Suno, you grant Suno and our affiliates, successors, assigns, and basically anyone that we work with, a non-exclusive, so you are giving to us a non-exclusive, fully paid up, sub-licensable, directly and indirectly through multiple tiers, assignable, royalty-free, perpetual, irrevocable right to license. That's a lot of words, okay? So they're like, you're basically giving us permission to license, use, reproduce, store, modify, distribute, or create additional works, right? These are called derivative works, based on any and all content that you submit. Let's take a second and digest that. So just be clear that if you are uploading something that you actually created, something that you own, right, as a prompt to Suno, you actually are giving it a license to then do pretty much whatever it wants with that content. So it goes, it's non-exclusive, meaning you're giving it to us, but you can give it to other people, but we can give it to someone else. We can sub-license it. We can assign it. We don't owe you any additional money. Now, again, I just go back to like, do I think that they're going to run off with your instrumental and like give it to someone else without your permission? Well, no, I would certainly hope not. But the language is so broad. That is what it says. They could, in fact, do that. And I'm just curious, if you happen to have a hit and they decide that they want to now exploit that, right? They want to promote it. They want to do something with it because it was created in some kind of way, right, on their platform. If you are a creator, like a real creator, right, who's making your own music and now you are uploading it into Suno, that's the thing I just want you to be aware of. So it does say that. Okay, and then it goes on, for the avoidance of doubt, this license authorizes us to make your content available and to sublicense it to others as necessary to provide our service as Suno. And you further grant to Suno the worldwide, fully paid up, sub-licensable, assignable, perpetual, and irrevocable, meaning you cannot take it back. Once you do it, you cannot take it back. To identify to the public that the output was generated via the service. Okay, so in other words, if you're concerned about people knowing that you use Suno, be aware that in their terms, it does say that they reserve the right to identify you to the public and to say, hey, Johnny over here used our platform to create this song. They can do that. You've already given them the permission. Again, just something that you should just be aware of if you are a creator using this platform. Although Suno has no obligation to monitor the content, you acknowledge and agree that we may do one or all of the following. We can monitor, we can edit, we can remove in whole or in part. So again, if you're uploading your stuff onto their platform, they do reserve the right to do stuff with that the content, okay? Subject to your compliance with these terms. If you are a user who has subscribed to a paid tier, Suno hereby assigns to you, okay, and this goes to the ownership piece. So as long as you are in a paid tier, Suno hereby assigns to you all of its right, title, interest in and to any output owned by Suno and generated from submissions, meaning so the input you gave it, made by you through the service during the term of your paid subscription. All right, so that's good news, right? So they are saying that as long as you are a paid user and so long as what you created was created during the term of your paid subscription, that you own what you create. Okay, I'm like, boy, that's different than some of these other platforms that we've read the terms of service where otherwise they're just giving you a license. Here, Suno is actually saying that you own what you make. That's kind of exciting. Now, it does go on here. It goes, however, Suno makes no representations that you will actually be able to vest the copyright. I can tell you this. So I'm glad that they put this in here. They're like, just so you know, we're not like promising that you're going to be able to go and actually get a copyright registration. And as a copyright attorney, I can tell you the reason for that is that you can register a song that you made using AI so long as the song has something original in it that you inputted, that you created. If the entire thing is AI generated, you can't go and file for copyright protection. There is no copyright protection for anything that the AI created. So what happens, and look, if you guys want me to do this, I will, but I was thinking about this the other day. I'm like, I really should show you guys how to do a copyright registration if you have a song that is made in part by AI, because I want to show you how to disclaim, how to carve out the portion of it that is AI, and just to show you how to register this, okay? So if you were going to like try to register it, you do have to disclose that a portion of the song was made with AI, and so all that good stuff. But anyway, they do say that in the terms. They're like, look, you own it, but we're like making no promise that you're gonna be able to actually get a copyright registration, and practically speaking, that's why. All right, so then if you are someone using the free tier, you promise and agree that you will only use the outputs generated from submissions made by you through the service solely for your lawful, internal, personal, and non-commercial purposes. Okay, so really, 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 really super duper important. They do say here specifically it is non-commercial if you are on the free tier. And that's also provided that you give attribution. So you have to identify Suno. And I'm just curious, I haven't heard about Suno or Udio, because Udio is the same way. I haven't heard about these music AI platforms going after Johnny. And they're like, Johnny used our platform on a free tier and didn't give us credit for his Suno song, but who knows? That is what it says, though. So you probably want to have a paid subscription if you are trying to actually use Suno for your creation process and to make sure there's not any problems. Now, obviously, these platforms in some cases have not even been public for more than a few months. So, we'll see how this all happens or falls out. For the avoidance of doubt, output may be publicly available to third-party applications such as Discord, where it may be viewable, downloadable, and modified by other users, and that of third-party applications, plural, I think is what they meant to say. AKA, again, if you are a creator, you're using Suno, just be careful and just understand that your input could end up essentially being in someone else's song. Again, I don't know if that's, practically what Suno is trying to do, but that is what their contract says. And also that your stuff may end up being on third-party applications. It might be downloaded by other people. So, I'm not trying to scare you off from using this platform, but again, if I was trying to give you guys direction on whether you should use these or how you should use these, it's just keep this stuff in mind, okay? All right, also, if you give any feedback, this made me laugh. If you give any feedback to Suno and you're like, hey, customer service review, it's non-confidential. They're entitled to publish it for commercial uses however they want. So they can make money off you because they're like, they said they loved this or whatever. And then they have a copyright, takedown procedure. So this is DMCA takedowns if you think someone is infringing your stuff, which I'm assuming may happen for some users, right? And then they get into all the boilerplate stuff, disclaimer of warranty. So this is where they're just like, you are doing this all at your own sole risk. If any bad things happen, don't come back to us. Limitation of liability, even if bad things happen to you, you disclaim you're not going to sue us for consequential damages, punitive damages, and in fact, our total liability to you for all damages, losses, or causes of action exceeding the amount you have paid to Suno in the last 6 months, or if greater, $100. So basically, these limitations of liability are to say, if you were to sue us, you can only sue us up to this cap. And so they go, either it's what you've paid to us in the last 6 months, which is really not going to be a lot on any of their paid tiers, right? Or $100. I just laugh at this stuff because, they make it pretty much impossible for you to ever meaningfully sue and get a remedy. There is the agreement you promise you're going to arbitrate if you do decide to ever bring a claim. You promise to keep all things super secret pursuant to a confidentiality clause. Termination, Suno, in its sole discretion, may kick you off the platform anytime it sees fit, and more general stuff. Now, here's the thing. I love this right here because it's like, hey, here's a real general, provision, which is a catch-all. So there's all kinds of things in this huge paragraph, and most people don't read it, but I do. And right here it goes, you agree that regardless of any statute or law to the contrary, any claim or cause of action arising out of, relating to the use of the service or these terms must be filed within 1 year. AKA, there's a statute of limitations in the contract. They go from the time that you think that you have a claim against us. You're agreeing in this contract that you have 1 year to actually bring the claim, right? To actually sue us. And if you don't, you're barred forever. And they say forever barred. Anyway, that's why I read these contracts, just so you guys know. But comparing, now let's play this game. For those of you using Suno versus Udio on the usage front and the interface, what do you think? Which platform do you like better? Why? There are differences for sure. On the legal side, on the contract side, the one thing I can say that I like about Suno is that they do make a point in their contract and they're like, we're giving ownership to you. All right, that's something cool. I do not love the whole we can share and license and sub-license to our affiliates and all this stuff, the content that you put onto our platform. I have a real problem with that. I do not like that. It may be the lawyer who drafted this, and so he or she just had some very broad language. You know what I'm saying? So I always go through, this is what the contract says, but practically speaking, that may or may not be what Suno is actually doing. But that would make me nervous as a creator if I'm like, hey, I'm going to put myself on this platform to like come up with some whatever melodies or something. And then it's like your song may end up in someone else's output. That's kind of scary. So anyway, leave your comments down below. Let me know your thoughts. I'm Tom Music Attorney. It's Kristen.
I hope this video helps break it down for AI users and songwriting info on the legalities of using Suno. That's the video show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. And check us out. Keep continuing to check us out on Bloomfield Community TV and YouTube. And I'll see you next time with some more interesting music guests and music topics. My name is Kat Orlando on CHOPZ. See you later.